people excited. That'd be nice. Yeah, let me know.
You are live. Yep, we are live, hopefully.
That's good. People excited.
Hi everyone. So today I'm with Arvind. Arvind, he's a author of the Zero to Sold and Embedded Entrepreneur, and also a serial entrepreneur who currently building a permanent link. And also he's writing one more book that is a build in public. Right, Arvind?
Yeah, that's right. I'm doing a lot of stuff. Thanks for reminding me of all the projects that I have going on.
Yeah. So today we will talk about like anything related to startup, bootstrapping, how you can go about it, and more something about Web3, and that is also an interesting topic, and anything about the startups, from hiring, audience finding, anything. If you are just logging and if you have any question, just ping it here. I will ask him. And yeah, welcome, Arvind. How are you?
Oh, wonderful. Thanks so much for having me. It's a really interesting conversation. I really hope so, because the topics you just mentioned, all of them are extremely interesting. And thanks for also mentioning that I'm working on the Build in Public book, because everything I do right now is effectively research in public, right? I'm always trying to understand why people do the things they do and how they do them and how they do it in public to get to better results. So having a conversation like this live in public is the best way for me to talk about these things, because I think my brain works in a way that I understand things when I talk about them. Okay. And I feel most accountable to do the right thing when other people are watching. So this is the best combination, of public and chatting.
Yeah, that's why not everyone suits build in public. Like not every founder is quite comfortable like building in public. And so what is your idea of building public? It is something like tweet whatever you are doing, end of the day just tweet about it, or like be the process, or whatever the challenges you find, you just tweet. And also one more thing, how you balance running actual startup and not just on the Twitter, so that because you will overwhelm with the response and all. Your team will say, okay, this founder is only spending time on the Twitter, is not really interested in actually building the product. So
okay. I'm going to start with my personal understanding, and I'm going to get to your second question, because that's a consequence of that, right? Yeah. Building in public to me just means sharing what you learn on your journey to success in entrepreneurship on social media, and using the feedback you get from sharing those learnings to impact your actual journey. It's a cycle. Right? To me, it's a learn-teach cycle. You learn something, I don't know, you do an experiment with Facebook ads, it doesn't work out. You share it in public on Twitter or LinkedIn, wherever you are, and then people who are already following you because they're interested in your journey, or people who are getting interested in your journey, they interact with you. They tell you, for example, on Twitter, where you are surrounded by other founders, I did the same thing on Facebook. It didn't work for me either, which is good for you, because then you know, okay, my experiment is validated by somebody else. Or they tell you, well, I had success, but I changed this little thing, so it worked for me in that particular way. So now you have another data point that you can use in your next experiment. And it's this immediacy of feedback that makes building in public interesting. Whenever you share something that you have done, you will do, or you might do, can be anything, could be an idea, a strategy, or a plan, or an actual thing that worked or didn't work for you, you get feedback on it. You get feedback from the people who are on the same journey as you, which is other founders. That's one of the main reasons you might build in public, because you get the support network of other founders. And you get feedback from your potential customers, your prospects in whatever industry you're working in, who might be giving you insights into what they need or what they think they need, which are vastly different things often. And also what they think of your approach to building this particular business or product. So you get immediacy in feedback loops that you wouldn't get if you were to build this like hidden away in your basement for half a year. One of the biggest problems that I personally see in entrepreneurship is people building something, a solution to an unvalidated problem for an unvalidated audience. You have this all over the place. If you go to Product Hunt, which is, for those who don't know, a website where new products are launched every single day, You see a lot of products at the top that have a super interesting amount of engagement, 3, 4, 5 big products that have a lot of followers who help out getting it to the top of the list. And then the further down you go, you see a lot of equally good products that have no engagement whatsoever, because nobody cares about them, because nobody knows about them. So there is no audience, there is no group of people who could help these products succeed, which means that the founder only thought about the product. They didn't think about distribution. They didn't think about finding somebody to actually help and support them on their journey. They only built, which is a big trap for many, many developers or people who are product focused. They just build, and never share with the people that actually are supposed to use it. So building in public alleviates this by being in this consistent engagement loop with the people that you're building with, your customers. You're building at the same time with other founders, and you're building for your prospects, which are the people who have not yet bought your product. So that's my very long-winded definition of building in public. Now let's address the point that you made about the balance of building and sharing.
Coming on that, I just have a supplement question in that. So,
sure.
Like building public is one way of marketing a product, or is like finding or talking about the problem and finding the initial 10-20 users. What exactly it is?
Oh, so it's both. Building in public to me is a way you build a business. It's not a marketing strategy, or it's not a product development strategy, or a customer acquisition strategy, or a customer development strategy. It's how you implement your marketing strategy, how you implement your customer development strategy. Because you could, for customer development, you try to understand what your customers need so you can serve their needs best, right? That's kind of what you do. You talk to them, you have surveys, you have calls with them, interviews, whatever. You can't do this privately. You just reach out to them through email, cold email, whatever. You gather your list and you do like a week of interviews. And then you have your recordings, you have your transcriptions and whatnot, and you do some qualitative data analysis, and then you know what they need. That's a valid and perfectly fine way of doing customer development and understanding customer research. But you can also do this in public. You can invite them into a Twitter space, and you can ask them the exact same questions with other people listening. And then you get this wonderful event where people write you a message on Twitter or in an email, and they say, I listened to your customer development interview. Thank you. I learned so much about how to do customer development right. And also, I might be a potential customer, and here are my answers to the question that you asked somebody completely different. Building in public just exposes you to so much more potential feedback as a method of doing whatever you're doing. Same with marketing. You could do marketing completely in isolation. You could do your Facebook ad copy or whatever, write it, A/B test it, and then run it, and nobody ever sees it other than your customers. Or you can do what so many people do on Twitter, good marketing people do on Twitter. They share their approach to how to write copy. Here is this copy. I'm going to use that later. Tell me what you think about this. Or I wrote this, I tested it. Here's my A/B test. This one performed 17% better. That is interesting. Here is what I know. You know, like it's just this moment of having other people involved in your process instead of just having them involved in the outcome of the process. And that's what building in public is for me, because it just gets you closer to whoever you're working with. And then you have this interaction loop, which it does bring me to your question, because I do want to answer this, because this is one of the most commonly asked questions in terms of what are the risks of building in public. Building in public has many risks, like any activity. Entrepreneurship is full of risks to begin with, but building in public has one more layer of risk, because you're doing it in public. Other people can see your mistakes, other people can see your failure, other people can see your thoughts and ideas and your projections and your goals. It's just much more transparent. And one of the biggest questions is, the one even bigger than the one you asked is, what do I do about clones and copycats? That's, like one of the biggest thing, to which my answer is usually, a copycat can only copy what they see. They cannot copy what you know, but we can get into that later, right? You as the founder are the thing that can never be copied. So the better you are, the less copyable your business will be in terms of knowledge and understanding and customer relationships and all that stuff. But your question was, how do I balance this? And to many people, this is problematic because they see the benefit of sharing in public and getting feedback, and then they overcommit. Then they think they have to share every little thing they do. And they spend much more time on Twitter than they are building their product. And that's a problem. What I have found is time blocking is usually a pretty good idea, particularly if you're new to the act of building in public. Let's say you spend 4 days a week building and 1 day a week thinking about what to share. You don't have to just share on that day. You can prepare a couple of tweets that you schedule for the next couple of days to go out. So you have consistent content updates on the social media that you're working in. And I would highly recommend scheduling your tweets. Like if you ever want to use Twitter professionally in a business sense, you need to make sure that you space out your content, not only because otherwise people would only read one of the 5 things you posted, but to reach people in different geographics and to reach people at different times during the day. That's why content scheduling is such an important part of this journey. But it's also just so you have content going out during the week while you do the work. And the work, building a product, doing your experiments, doing your marketing, talking to customers, that is the source of the content that you then share later. It's a loop. It's the learn, teach loop. To me, it's between I learn something from doing something in my business, I share it on social media. Therefore, I teach other people, that I get feedback on this. People either they agree with it, they expand on it, they disagree with it, or they give you counter examples, whatever they do, which in itself is a new learning that you can apply to your business, from which you learn something else and you share that on social media. People give you their feedback and you learn something. It's a loop. And the more you can go from one thing, building and learning, to sharing and teaching, back to building and learning and sharing and teaching, the easier it will be to get this balance, right? And my instinct is to tell people, if you have to choose between building and sharing, always choose building first, because building is the thing that is more persistent. It creates permanence. It creates an actual experience that you can learn something from. And it's also the more experimental act. Because if you build something with no code, you can very quickly build anything you want, right? Within a couple hours, you can build, I don't know, like a completely new project. And that is interesting because you can share that with the world. You can see if people resonate with it and all that. So that is what I would prefer, because you can then share your experiences from that later after you've built it. But sharing is something that needs an actual experience. It needs an actual some underlying learning or anecdote that turns this piece of information that you post on Twitter or on LinkedIn or on Facebook, wherever you're doing your building in public, into an instructional and interesting and also informative piece of content. And to be instructional, interesting, and informative, you need it to be real. You need it to be an actual experience. So if you have to, build, because that will generate all the content that you can then later share.
Yeah. So, okay. Couple of more questions on the same topic.
Sure.
First is, when you say ki prefer building rather than sharing, then again, I'm talking about the term ki where like sharing or like marketing is not a forte of the founder. So when a marketing, sharing, and community building is not a forte of the founder, and when have a forte in the building or a product, and when someone creates or like build a process to share, build in public, so that he can he can literally share his process with the audience, and maybe some out of that audience will be their customers. When you say focus on building rather than sharing, then again founder, like anyone can move to same loop, building, not sharing.
Yeah.
Because like one or two, because this is just a process. It will be like 6 month, 1 year process. It's not something one week or 2 week process. Because, and when you, for example, I'm wrong. in a 2 weeks, you feel like you share a lot of content. Then again, next week you said, okay, let's focus on building this week. So that cycle of constantly sharing will not ever happen, and you again move into the building loop. And since I have a forte in the building product, I will completely forget the sharing things. How, like, do you understand my question, or like I'm just
I know it's easy to get back in your comfort zone and then never leave it, right? I the one thing that helps me personally doing this is accountability, because I'm by trade I'm a software engineer. I am also from the building side, right? So I very much know how easy it is to get stuck in building and never talking about it, because you think, oh, there's one more thing I need to do before I have something meaningful to share. And then you build that, and then, oh yeah, maybe that's the other thing, I need that. And then you make up this reasoning in your mind, which obviously is just in your mind, for why you shouldn't be doing this just yet. So my answer to this is build accountability systems that you cannot escape. For me personally, when I started writing, when I started blogging, which is something that is essentially building in public. You write in public, you share in public. It happens for me every single week on my blog. I write one article, I turn that into a podcast episode and a newsletter episode. That's every single week. Now for the 110th week in a row, I've been doing this. And I've been doing this because I felt I owe it to the people who follow me on Twitter, follow me on my newsletter, who are on my email list, and who are subscribed to my podcast, because they expect me to provide this to them every single week. So setting up something where other people hold you accountable, or you just feel like they hold you accountable, which is almost the same, because again, everything is happening in our minds, right? We just the same level where the excuses happen for, oh, I need to build this one more thing, is the same area where I have to write this now because somebody is watching and somebody is waiting for this. Both of them are just in your mind, but the latter one, the accountability one, will be the one that keeps you in a consistent output loop. And I would recommend this particularly to people who, like me, are kind of shy. And I may not seem shy at this very moment, but that is because I talk about something that I actually know something about and I really enjoy talking about, right? If you were to talk to me about something outside of my zone of interest and my zone of research, I would probably not be that energetic, but I am right now because it's something that I actually care about. So if you have something that you actually care about, it's easier to turn that into this kind of scheduled accountability loop. Just say at least once a week, on Thursday or on Wednesday, I will put on Twitter a thread or a tweet about what I did last week. Once a week's all you need to do. Because the moment you get that started and the moment you have some kind of cycle, you will see a lot of circles drawn on video here today, because a lot of the stuff that actually produces results is just repetitive and incremental change. And that's exactly what this building in public is. Every day or every week, you release one piece of information about the progress of your business. You feel accountable to share because you have set this up, this cycle, right? I know every Friday it needs to be out. And in the days leading up to that Friday, you need to do something because otherwise you have nothing to share. It's a self-sustaining loop. It's how my writing loop works too. I know that every Thursday I need to be done writing because on Friday the newsletter goes out. So every Monday and Tuesday, I'm sitting here in my office and I have to write something. And often I know exactly what I'm going to be writing about a lot of weeks in ahead of time because I have a list of topics. But sometimes I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I don't know what to write about. Then I go to Twitter and I talk about something that I have on my mind and I see how people resonate with it. So I kind of test the waters about this particular topic. And then if people resonate with it, I start writing about it. And then I have something on Thursday to record a podcast from. And then on Friday, my newsletter goes out. So it's really about keeping yourself accountable to produce at least one thing a week or one thing a month or one thing a day. It's really up to you, however much you want to put effort and time into this to keep the sharing and the building going, because they each sustain each other.
Great. Okay, one more question.
Okay.
Sure. In that, I'm just sharing my experience.
Yeah.
So I think 1 year before I thought, okay, I will build a habit to do try a no-code tools, build a product, because at that time I figure out, okay, I love building a product. Yeah. So it doesn't matter it's sale or no sale, but I just love the building process. So I thought, okay, how can I build a more like more effectively? I know coding, but I don't want coding because coding takes a time and it is a process. So at that time I figured out there is a no-code tool. So I thought, okay, let's commit for the 1 year and like one hour more, like that's it. So that I started live streaming my journey, and in initial live streaming videos are pretty bad. Like even I got a one comment ki, please learn live streaming before. So okay, but what I figure out over the time, this is true right now with my YouTube channel also and with my no code journey also. From last 1 year, I am for 3 hours, 2 or 3 hours, I'm pretty straightforward giving a without any break. I don't feel like I need to take a break, pretty sure. But when it comes to the YouTube content, creating a regular content, I feel like I need one more push because I am not able to constantly producing content. One more apart from this. And one day I thought, okay, let's increase the Twitter following also. For that, make a repeated process. Put a daily one tweet about whatever I am doing. Yeah. So, but these process is personally feel like is my out of comfort zone and I can't able to make it. So I just forget about them. I am even on the YouTube. I am not consistent about my content. Other than I'm not proud, but very same about it. But this thing is not happening because this is out of comfort, and same with the founding also. Building public is not comfort to everyone. Yeah, it is pretty comfort for the marketing guy and sales guy who is doing more or less same job from last 10 years, 6 years. Not in via the tweet, but rather talking to the people, because Twitter is more like a talking to the people.
Yeah, that's
so how can
that's
I
the difference.
How can I like stick to the consistency wheel? Okay. Well, so one of not in comfort zone.
Yeah, comfort zone is I think we've talked about this like multiple times now, right? Maybe it's an important time at this point to consider why we want to stay in our comfort zone. Like, what is the reason why we don't want to go out of there? And I feel that personally, up until a certain point in my life, I was staying in my comfort zone because I felt that if I do something wrong, that's going to be a problem, right? If I make a mistake and if I don't have success and other people see that, that is going to come back to me as a negative event. What I learned is that it's actually the opposite of this. If people see you fail in public, that is something that builds trust and stronger relationships. In almost every single relationship that I've built online with people that I actually have a meaningful relationship with, there was a point where they saw me fail, where they saw me struggle, where they saw me do something that didn't work out. And that was often the tipping point for turning this kind of shallow business relationship where you just know each other, you are very, like, just people who don't know each other, but yeah, like very formal. That turned it into a much more human, much more relatable relationship because they saw you as a human being, not as a projection of success. They saw you in all your facets, not just in the good. And that's what building in public is. Building in public is not sharing your success in public. That is essentially just marketing, right? It's projecting. It's doing showing people how great you are. That is not what building in public really is. Building in public is showing people how you are. Just with everything, right? How great you are, how bad you are at things. Because most people, when they start building in public, they fear, they fear being seen experimenting because they might fail. But that is why people watch you. People want to see how do they do it? Can they do it? Why don't they do it right? What's keeping them from doing it right? How can they learn? What do they learn? How do they grow? That's what creates trust. That's what creates this kind of more long-term relationship that actually has meaningful impact on your life. Because you may have tens of thousands of followers on Twitter, but if they don't care about you as a person, they can very easily unfollow you.
Yeah, right.
But if they've seen you struggle, if they've seen you fail with many, many projects, they will have some sort of investment in your journey. The next time you start something new, they're gonna be there and they will support you. They will try to help you out. They will try to give you their advice or their input, or to find somebody who has help for you to see you succeed. Finally, right? Well, at least now, maybe now is the time. And that kind of investment, that kind of commitment to you as a person is something that comes from being vulnerable, that comes from being just, okay, let's try this. And if it fails, I've learned something. My viewers have learned something, and maybe I can do it better next time. So the comfort zone is what keeps us from experimenting, because we want to stay safe. We want to be successful at what we do. And the comfort zone is stuff that we're comfortable with, that we know how to do right. But it's the other stuff out there that actually creates some meaningful relationship with people that will, in the long term, create opportunity that you have never thought of before, online, in social media, and within the communities that you work in.
Great. Okay, now comes to the bootstrapping of the business.
Right.
Okay, for the audience, wait. We got one comment. Why don't more developers find a marketing co-founders?
Oh man, co-founders, it's generally super hard to find the right person, like in any business endeavor, which is the reason why so many developers start their own business and don't take any co-founders on whatsoever, because they just don't
finding a co-founder.
Yeah. A co-founder, what do you mean? Like, can you repeat that question?
What's the 3 point, like before finding a co-founder, you have to take these 3 points.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, first off, it should be a person that is goal aligned with you. They should want the same thing as you, both in your business itself, in their entrepreneurial life, and in the way they approach business. Like they want to build, I don't know, you can build a bootstrap business, which is a self-funded business, so you retain complete control, right? And if your co-founder wants to build a venture capital funded business, a unicorn, that's not going to happen, because you want to build something that you have full ownership, that grows slowly but steadily. They want to build a rocket ship, and that's just very different. So you need to be goal aligned on where the business is going. You need to be goal aligned on what audience you're going to be serving. If you want to serve software developers, junior software developers, because you want to build a product to help them create their first product quickly, or, you know, like to build developer tools to help them learn how to code, and your co-founder wants to build enterprise level software where it's more about senior developers and teams and all that stuff, you will have different opinions. You will have different perspectives on where your business is going. So you should be goal aligned on what you're building, how you're building it, and where this is going. And then finally, I think I wrote an article about this. There's many different tiny individual potential synchronizations that need to happen between founders, but look into how long they want to work on any particular kind of business. Some people have no problem committing to 10 years of their lives. Other people, they only want to work on there for a couple months and see if it works. Then how much energy and attention they can actually bring into the business, because some co-founders want to do this on the side. Some people want to do this as their full-time job. There are many potential things. So 3 is not enough, but you have to have alignment. That's alignment between you and your co-founder. You need to find that out as quickly as you can while you talk to them before you ever start on your business, and then do a trial run. Don't overcommit. Don't immediately get vesting and shares and all of that stuff. Say, let's work together for 2 months or a month or 3. And if we were still in it after that, then we can do the whole shares and ownership situation. But you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket from the beginning. You want to space it out.
Great. Okay, now comes to the bootstrapping of the business. First of all, who don't know what exactly the bootstrapping is? It just means not taking. Okay, before going there. Okay, so let me tell you what is bootstrapping. So it is like not taking any funding from external sources or even your friends and family. I don't know how it is counted or not, but bootstrapping is spending your money and not diluting your equity, right?
Yeah, that's really what it is. It's funding your business yourself with your own money, or better yet, with your customers' money. So
That's the first one.
in many ways, bootstrapping is trying to get to profitability as quickly as you can, so that the money that comes in, your revenue, is capable of covering your costs as soon as possible. So you have to spend as little money of your own money as needed to get things going. Which is why you will find a lot of bootstrappers or indie founders in indie funding. It's the same word, right? Bootstrapping is this kind of impossible act of pulling yourself up by your bootstrap, which is obviously not something possible. But the idea is to build a business from nothing that is self-sustaining as quickly as possible. And that's the reason why many of these founders build very simple, minimum viable products, very simple prototypes, and try to get paying customers or at least supporters as quickly as possible so that they don't need to raise funding, which in itself is an interesting point, because it has the consequence that most bootstrap projects are not the moonshot kind of disruptive projects, but actual incremental changes to what's available as a solution to problems that are already out there. You find many bootstrap products out there being software as a service businesses that are specific to a particular niche. You might already find similar businesses out there, but this new bootstrap business is something slightly different for different people. So I rarely see bootstrap businesses that are completely novel, that are changing the dynamics of a market. It's mostly incremental because you have a validated customer base out there, you have validated problems, you have a validated solution, and now you just built a slightly different product, right? So that's where bootstrapping usually shines.
Okay, my one question is, like, for example, today I want to start a business. What is your suggestion? Like, do I store 2 years money, my own salary, my own spend, or like 3-4 team members salary, or like I just have a couple of, like, on the side I start a building MVP and then sell it and figure out is it working or not, or like completely going in or side going in. Like
you already answered the question there, because I believe that most bootstrap projects are very compatible with the side project approach. Like it's generally a good idea to validate every single step along the way, right? Like I said, in my first book, In Zero to Sold, I expand on this quite a bit, but like here's the quick rundown. You start with the audience, the people you want to serve and empower. You look at their critical problems. You find the most critical problem that they have that is out there, that is actually real. Then you envision a solution to the problem that fits into their workflow, that people can use immediately without having to change everything about their life. And then you build a product. Then you build a product that implements this solution to the problem of the audience in the medium that these people are already using. Let's say people are always on their phone because they are, I don't know, driving on the road. They're in a logistics company or something. You build a phone product. You build a mobile product for them. You don't build a web product for them, because how are they going to use it, right? So it has to work in the medium. It has to work for their workflow. It has to be a critical and validated problem for an existing and validated audience. And every step along the way, audience, problem, solution, product, should be validated. And the easiest way of doing this is by doing all of this on the side as a small little project. You don't need to spend years worth of your savings on a team when you don't even know if your potential customers out there even exist. That is just so much risk, particularly if you have to fund it all by yourself, right? So side projects are the way to go.
But there is one more risk involved in the side project. You completely not devoted to your project. For example, you have a 8-hour, 10-hour job. And since right now, like every job is demanding, you can't say, okay, just spend 8 hours in a day, that's it on a job. But don't spend more than 8 hours. And now you start working on your side project. So how, like, it is too much risk for your startup too. You are not completely focused on your startup. but at the same time you are stressing yourself because you are working full time and then spending on, and your product is not moving that much. So that is also a risk with the side projects.
Yeah.
So how can someone mitigate these risks?
Yeah, that is probably one of the hardest questions that you've asked me so far, because this is very specific to the individual journey for each founder at that moment, because it really comes down. I can tell you how we did this for the business that we built and sold, right? Feedback Panda was an online education software as a service business that I co-founded with my girlfriend, with Danielle. She was an English teacher. I was a software engineer. She had a problem with her online teaching, and I helped her build the product to help herself and other English teachers. We started the business in 2017. We built it up to $55,000 monthly recurring revenue, which is roughly $600,000 of annual recurring revenue. And we sold that business in 2019, just 2 years after we started it, to a private equity company for what I am allowed to say is a life-changing amount of money. That's where it is. So we built a SaaS business. We scaled the SaaS business to thousands of customers, and it was only her and me all the time. We never hired anybody there. And then we sold the business and we exited. And ever since then, we've essentially been doing whatever we want, because, that's just what the post-exit life is for many people. And how did we approach this? Because we started this as a side project. When we were starting this business, I was a software engineer. I was in a full-time position. I was working for an IoT company in Germany. And Danielle, she was an online teacher. She was teaching 8 to 12 hours a day. And the rest of the time we were spending trying to test prototypes and build MVPs and that kind of stuff. And we just kept this business from the start as low touch as possible. So we were building a SaaS business that did not involve us onboarding customers. It was all automated. It did not involve us sending customer service messages. It was all automated from the start. We were automating as much as we could, because we knew that only if this business brings in enough money to sustain us, at least the same amount our current jobs do, then can we commit to a full-time just work schedule on this particular project. And for us, that was around 15,000 euros a month, which let's say it was around $15,000 in monthly recurring revenue. That was when we made the switch. And I think that was roughly 9 months into the existence of the product. So after 9 months of building this product, that was a lot of time that we spent at keeping it still as a side project. It was already making 5 figures a month, and we still were working full time. So we were making absolutely sure that this product could scale itself on a side project level to a 5-figure revenue before we committed full time to the project. And that is my personal experience with this and with similar projects in the past. We wanted to keep this as a side project to the means that our income was coming in as long as possible, to see if it can survive on its own. And in many, many bootstrap businesses, that will be very viable, because you can build either a code-based project or a no-code-based project that has, a full Stripe or Paddle integration, and has the sign up and the email marketing all automated, and you just spend an hour or 2 hours a week building new things and just seeing what your customers are currently experiencing as problems and then fixing them. And then you go back to your day job. And only if it makes you enough money sustainably and reliably, then should you think of quitting your job and committing to this project. But until it does, you really, really should stick with your main job. This is not the idea behind bootstrapping is trying to be sustainable and reliable, right? The idea behind bootstrapping is trying to have a business that runs itself, that finances itself, and where you don't run too much risk. So you shouldn't start this journey by quitting your job and putting all your eggs in one basket, because maybe your side project can fizzle out after 1 or 2 months. Maybe somebody else had built something better, and what looked like a good graph is now just tanking. That's so keep, it's always risk in there. And the more you can mitigate that risk by keeping it as automated and well documented as possible, the better it is. That is my advice here. That's my personal experience.
Yeah, completely true. Okay. We have one more question. How to run a successful launch of a bootstrap startup?
Well, that again is, that's a good question, because I think most people, when they launch their business, when they start like sharing their business with the world, they went in with a product first mind. So they built and built and built, and then they launch. But what I've seen actually being much more successful is when people are embedded in their future audience, when they are in the communities of the people that they built the product for, and in the communities of the people that have the problem that your product solves, and you actually built the product in public within the community of your potential future customers. Because at that point, those people will know you've been building something for the last couple months. They will have seen your screenshots of your little prototypes. They will have seen you just think loudly in public about how you can help them the best. And they've seen your experiments with, I tried this in the prototype, it didn't really work. My beta user said this was a really stupid feature. They've seen you as a human being failing and succeeding step by step in building the product. That makes a launch almost unnecessary, because you already have people engaged and invested. Yeah. You can just say, okay, it's now open. And now that is your launch. Your launch is just, okay, my beta is done, or you don't even need a beta because people have been like checking out the product over the time that you've building it. You've just gotten them as just testers, first initial users. And now you can say, okay, the product is good enough. I'm gonna say it's ready and public, but you don't need a big launch at this point because you already potentially have your first customers. You just need to activate them. You need to tell them, everybody who already knows that the product has been built, it's now at a stage where I think you can really use it. And then you onboard them, you invite them in, you give them a good discount because they've been there all this time. You enable them to share your product for the referral, kind of free month of referral for every customer that they refer, the kind of means that you have in making your launch more successful. And then you don't need the big blast of a launch, because you can just slowly launch it before you even launch it.
Yeah.
And if you want to do a product hunt launch with this existing audience, it's going to be so much easier to get your product up there, because you can say, I'm launching my product on Product Hunt today. Please support me. Please leave a question. Please leave a review. And if you already have your community behind you, because they already have seen the product, they've already seen you working on it, they've seen you share updates and your struggles and your experiments and all of that with them for months, well, of course they're going to help you. That's how my 2 books, info products that usually don't rank very well on Product Hunt, both made it to number 2 of product of the day and number 1 product of the day on Product Hunt, because I had my community support me there, because they had already read my book before I launched it. Right? They knew it was there. They knew it was good. They even helped me write it, make it better. They helped me launch the product. So it's not you who launches your product. It's your community, your audience that launches it with you. And if you can build this hype in your community by building in public, the launch is going to be so much more successful.
Great insight. Great. Okay, one more thing. How bootstrapping a SaaS startup from 0 to 1,000 and 1,000 to more? Like, what should be the path for the SaaS founders?
So I think involve people in the community from the start. That will make it so much easier to kind of outsource your marketing. So another thing we did with Feedback Panda, I'm going to share that little story. So we knew that with 2 people in our business and potentially hundreds and thousands of customers, we couldn't do marketing and product work and customer support and all of that. The day only has 24 hours, right? And you only spend maybe 12 of those hours on your product if you're a bootstrap founder. By the way, that is like the minimum. You will not have 6 or 8 hour days if you run the business by yourself. You will have a full day of morning to evening running your business until you find people to help you. And we did that quite late. So we spent all waking hours working on our business. And even that was not enough to do all the things we wanted. So we were quite aware from the beginning that we needed to target the connectors the evangelists, the multipliers in the community from the start, so they could help us market our business to their community. So whenever we had conversations with our early customers, we would make absolutely sure that we treated them like human beings, like kings and queens, like royalty, that we would reach out, like they would send us a message through intercom, through our chat system, and we would be there immediately. We would help them with the thing they needed and beyond. We would like give them stuff for free. We would give them our attention whenever they needed to talk. We would turn them into customers that they have never thought they could be anywhere before. Like, you know, like when you have your, I don't know, your cable company or your power company and you talk to their customer support and they treat you like dirt, we wanted to be the opposite of that. We wanted to be the people that they never thought would take them seriously. And now they are like, they were treated like royalty. And we did that with our first customers as much as we could. We did what Paul Graham calls do things that don't scale. We sent handwritten letters to our first 100 customers all over the world, because we thought if they feel like we really value them, they will talk about us as founders and our business and our product beyond what they would do in marketing for any other company. And they did. They went to Facebook whenever our name was mentioned and people were critical and they thought, is that really worth it? They would go in and they would write paragraph after paragraph after paragraph why Feedback Panda is awesome and why they should totally buy it, because they had this amazing experience with us, and that just fed them to keep talking about our business in the best and most like empowering way that they could. And so spending this energy on your first couple customers, first dozen, first 100 customers will pay off in the future. They will kind of invite new people to your business. They will recruit new customers for you. And that will make the first 0 to 1,000 or whatever it is, customers or dollars or whatever, much easier, because you have these amplifiers, these catalysts along the way. So you only really need to find those couple initial amazing customers. And those are usually the people in your community that are the most engaged. I don't know if you're on Twitter, you will see that there are some people that respond to every single tweet in a positive and meaningful and helpful way. Those are the people. Those are the people you want to find and get onto your side. And those are the people you want to pamper and treat like kings and queens. Yeah. And then this will make this initial stage much easier for you.
Great. Okay, now we come to the Web3. Yeah.
Web3. Oh yeah. How many hours do we have?
We have 15 minutes.
Yeah. So that is what question do you have?
I don't have any question. I just want to know what exactly it is and like how it is gonna change the like current ecosystems, the way founders approach the product, and the like creators and other people approach the products. How it's gonna change it, and what exactly the Web3 is.
Yeah, let's start with the definition, because I think it's easiest to start with Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, right? Yeah, Web 1 was the internet that was there like from the start up until the early 2000s. It was the internet of consumption. You went on the internet and you read something and it was amazing, and you learned something and or you bought something or whatever. It was a purely passive consumption thing. You went on the internet to read. It's like Microsoft Encarta or Wikipedia, but before it was collaborative, kind of, you just consumed. Web 2 was the internet of social media. It was the internet of consuming content that was created by others, but owned by large corporations or by large institutions. Large corporations would be Facebook and Google or Twitter, and large organizations would be Wikipedia and similar collaborative, maybe free, open source, GitHub, that kind of stuff, but still in many ways organized, monetized, and owned by large companies or institutions. That's Web 2. It's give and take, but somebody else owns it. And now Web 3 comes in, and it's creation, consumption, and ownership that is now decentralized and democratized. So we're now looking at owning things, creating things, and consuming things where Web 2 was just creating things and consuming things, and Web 1 was just consuming things. It's another layer, and it's something that I feel is going to change the way we look at content creation and distribution. Because in Web 2, we have services like Spotify and YouTube, where people put something onto a central platform, and then it gets shared and disseminated, and the money that is being made is mostly made by the platform itself, right? Spotify makes money, YouTube makes money, and then obviously the creators kind of make a little money, but if you look at how Spotify pays their royalties out to the creators, it's almost laughable. Like if you are not one of the top 100 musicians, you make like thousands of a cent on a song that's being played by somebody. So you have to have a couple thousand people, maybe a couple tens of thousand people play your song for you to even make $1 as a creator on Spotify, which is mind-blowing.
Across the platform, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, the platform, these are same. Like
if you're not in the 1%, you don't see any meaningful revenue. Twitch is the same, right? There was this big thing just a month or so ago where the source code leaked, Twitch source code leaked, and also the list of the creators and how much money they made, the top 100 200 creators. And you could see that even in this list, it was an exponential or like a logarithmic situation. The top 10, 20 creators made almost 50%, or top 100 made 50% of the revenue of the platform. And then everybody else just really made almost nothing. So if you're not one of the biggest names, you don't get to make any money. And that is what Web 3 is about. Web 2 is about. Web 2 is about if you're in the top, you make the money. If you're on the bottom, if you're in long tail, you don't get to make anything. Web 3 is changing this because it now allows creators to self-monetize and to distribute on platforms that they choose themselves and where their audience chooses to look at them. Like you will see, I think we will see in the future, decentralized platforms like YouTube, but not YouTube, popping up for specific niches of creation. You already have it with the NFT movement, right? And let me just preface this. There is a lot of weird stuff going on in NFTs. Right? NFT as a technology, as a non-fungible token, a representation of ownership of some digital asset that is represented on the blockchain. It can be anything. Right now, it's pictures of apes and dragons and lions and stuff. It's not my thing. I'm not too much into the PFP movement because it's just, I don't know. It's just not for me. And I see so much abuse in there that reminds me of multi-level marketing schemes. Obviously, it's not the same. Like obviously, not every NFT project is a scam, but some are. And then there's a lot of Ponzi energy in some of these projects. So I just stay away from this. But what I like about NFTs is that it democratizes art collection. I have a couple of friends on Twitter that are designers, and they create the most amazing designs, like art that is just it's on point, it's beautiful, it conveys a message that I personally stand behind, and it looks like something you could have in a book or you could have on your wall. It's just wonderful. And now for the first time, they don't need to go to a publisher to get this out, or they don't need to go to a gallery and have it displayed somewhere. They can put it on OpenSea or on Foundation or another platform like this, and they can say, I want to allow the people that love my art already to bid on this in Ethereum or in Solana or in any kind of digital currency. And then they can own the digital representation of my art because I'm a digital artist anyway. What I create is digital. I don't paint with a brush. I paint in Photoshop, but it's just the same level of quality. And then they can put it out there. And now I, as just one guy on the internet, can just immediately own that piece of art and pay them. I can pay the creator immediately. There's no intermediary other than this decentralized platform that which is almost, you can exchange that platform for any other platform because the NFT happens on the blockchain, not the platform. The platform facilitates the process, but you could build a new platform today for your particular niche community, and they would use it, and the blockchain would still be the same, right? The ledger on where all these transactions are linked. So I can now put my money directly into the wallet of my favorite author, my favorite designer, my favorite musician, instead of having to go through this aggregator distribution platform that is owned by a gigantic company somewhere that has dubious commitments to privacy or to ownership or to compensation. It's more direct, and that's what Web3 is. It's a direct exchange that takes out the middleman in terms of somebody who monetizes the relationship. The relationship is true because it's technology enabled, not business enabled anymore.
More like a P2P, but without a centralized platform.
Yeah, right. And there are still kind of central platforms, but they are exchangeable. They are, you could, the blockchain itself is so that decentralized that no platform can claim ownership over the blockchain. Whenever you want to build a new OpenSea, you can do that. It's going to require some effort. Obviously, it's not going to be free to build it. You still need to hire developers and you need to understand the system, but the system's documentation is free. The blockchain is completely free. You can participate whenever you want. So it removes it makes it easier to join the technology and to experiment on the blockchain with whatever thing you want to build or whatever you want to create.
Okay. I love to talk more about on the Web3. Since time is very limited and you have a meeting in a couple of minutes. And thanks for doing this. And
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. And thank you, audience. If you have any question or such, DM directly Arvid, or you can DM me. I will ask him. Not an issue. And you can even directly and go check out their websites. Go check out their books on the bootstrapping, like Zero to Sold, a marvelous book, The Embedded Entrepreneur. And also, if you want to participate in the journey of book writing, that is, he's writing a book like Build in Public. You can go on the buildinpublic.com, I think, thebuildinpublic.com.
I think it's buildinpublicbook.com. That's where it's currently. Yeah, no problem.
I will just post in the description, not an issue. And
thank you.
Sign up there and follow the journey, how he's writing, researching the content and all. He's sharing all in the public. And also the important thing, newsletter. I forget to mention. He write a newsletter like quite descriptive. It is not something like 100 words newsletter. It's quite lengthy and quite detailed and quite to the point. And you will definitely love it. So thank you. Thank you very much.